My younger brother, Lucas Harris, had always been jealous of me, jealous of my smart mind, my achievements, and especially my beautiful, capable wife, Emily. Spoiled rotten by our parents since birth, his jealousy eventually drove him to madness. One day, in a fit of rage and desperation, he grabbed me and jumped off the rooftop with me. Little did I know, that wasn't the end. We were somehow reborn, and swapped bodies. Now, he's me, and I've become him. Lucas used my stellar grades to get into college, stole my identity to woo my wife, and even tried to replicate my business successes from my previous life. He strutted around, smugly showing off his achievements, thinking I'd lose my mind in anger. What he didn't realize was that I couldn't be happier. My life, which seemed perfect on the surface, was actually a complete mess. Now that he's taken over, all I can say is, thank you for jumping into the pit on my behalf. Do you know how much I've envied you? Lucas slurred, his voice dripping with resentment. Your brains, your success, your perfect life, and Emily, your gorgeous wife. If I were you, I'd do so much better than you ever could. I stared at him, feeling a mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. Lucas had called me out for drinks, setting up a small table on the rooftop with some takeout and beer. It had been years since we'd seen each other, and his sudden invitation caught me off guard. But after just a few drinks, he didn't even try to hide his bitterness. He went on, rambling about petty grievances and ancient history. He thought my life was perfect, flawless, even. What he didn't know was that beneath the shiny exterior, it was all a facade, held together by duct tape and sheer willpower. I wanted to tell him that happiness isn't something you can steal, it's not as simple as taking someone else's life. But what was the point? Lucas's bloodshot eyes burned with jealousy, and I could feel his hatred bubbling just beneath the surface. I said nothing, simply downed another drink, letting the bitterness of my life drown in the alcohol. Do you even understand? Lucas's voice cracked as he continued. I'm at the end of my rope. What do you mean? I asked, my mind hazy from the alcohol. Everyone looks down on me. I just wanted to prove myself. His voice grew louder. I borrowed money to start a business, but it failed. Now I'm drowning in debt. I thought I could gamble my way out of it, but now I owe even more. Loan sharks are after me. His face twisted with rage as he smashed an empty beer bottle against the table. It's not fair. Why do you get everything handed to you on a silver platter while I'm stuck in this endless nightmare? If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. What the hell are you talking about? You're drunk, I muttered, trying to steady myself. Before I could react, Lucas grabbed me by the arm. That's when I noticed the needle marks on his arm. This idiot. Was he high? Before I could pull away, he laughed maniacally and dragged me toward the edge of the rooftop. And then he jumped, taking me with him. The wind roared in my ears as we plummeted. In those final seconds, clarity hit me like a freight train. Regret? Sure. But there was also a strange sense of relief. And then, darkness. I don't know how much time passed before I heard a familiar voice. Hey, wake up. The teacher's coming. I opened my eyes, blinking against the harsh classroom lights. I was slumped over a desk, surrounded by the all-too-familiar sights and smells of high school. Wait, how did I end up here? I glanced around and realized I was sitting in the back row, right next to the trash can. Before I could process what was happening, I noticed a boy sitting in the front row. He turned around, flashing me a smug grin. It was my face, my high school face. Panicked, I looked down and saw the name written on my textbooks, Lucas Harris. It hit me like a ton of bricks. We hadn't just been reborn, we'd swapped bodies. Lucas, now wearing my face, looked absolutely thrilled. He grinned like a kid on Christmas morning, clearly basking in the glory of his new identity. But little did he know, the real nightmare was just beginning. Hey, what's with the blank stare? I turned to see the girl sitting beside me. It was Ivy, Lucas's future wife and my future sister-in-law. Back in high school, Ivy came from a poor family in a small rural town. She couldn't afford to board at school, so she commuted long distances every day, working part-time jobs to support her family. She barely slept, maybe 3 or 4 hours a night, and used her lunch breaks to catch up on homework. Despite her hard work, her grades were always middling at best. Her teachers eventually moved her to the back row, deeming her a lost cause. Ivy was sweet and kind, but Lucas had always looked down on her, calling her plain and boring. He preferred flashy, high-maintenance girls who posted selfies on social media or hung out at nightclubs. But for some reason, Lucas and Ivy eventually ended up together. They even got married. At the time, I was in college, too busy with my own life to pay much attention to theirs. Now, as I sat beside her, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. "Nothing," I said, forcing a smile. Lucas's life might have seemed miserable to him, but in many ways, it was far better than mine. If he didn't want it, I'd gladly take it off his hands. High school graduation was just around the corner. With my previous knowledge, catching up on material was a breeze. Lucas, on the other hand, was doomed. He'd wasted 3 years partying and slacking off, and now, with only a month until finals, he was hopelessly behind. This was the turning point. The last month of senior year is all about review, but I was already behind. To make up for it, I decided to start from scratch, digging into the trickiest problems from freshman and sophomore year, mastering them one by one before. Moving on to the next topic. During a break, Lucas Harris swaggered over to me, whistling with his hands stuffed in his pockets. His face was plastered with a smug, mocking grin. Well, look who's hitting the books," he said, laughing. "Why so serious? Come on, let's ditch this and have some fun." I glanced up at him without much expression. Final exams are around the corner. Shouldn't you be studying? The memories of my past life and everything Lucas had done were still fresh in my mind. The moment he dragged me off that rooftop, any warmth I felt for him as a brother had completely vanished. All that remained was cold indifference. "What's the point?" "I've got early admission, no need to study," Lucas said with a grin, clearly enjoying himself. His words jogged my memory. Back in senior year, I'd been offered early admission to a decent college too, but I turned it down. I wanted to shoot for a top-tier school. Unfortunately, on the day of the entrance exam,